In July 2013, 66-year-old Geraldine set out on what should have been the adventure of a lifetime. She had spent years preparing for this moment, hiking the Appalachian Trail, an ambitious trek that stretched over 2,000 miles from Georgia to Maine. She was an experienced hiker, well-prepared and excited for the journey. She had already covered more than 1,000 miles when she reached the rugged wilderness of Maine. Her husband, George, was her biggest supporter. Though he couldn't hike with her, he followed her progress closely, meeting her at pre-planned locations along the trail to provide supplies and encouragement. Everything was going according to plan, until it wasn't. On the morning of July 22, 2013, Geraldine left the trail, likely to relieve herself. She wasn't far, just a short distance off the path. But in the dense Maine wilderness, even a few steps in the wrong direction can be dangerous. And then she was lost. Realizing her mistake, Geraldine tried to reach out for help. She had her cell phone with her, but service was spotty in the remote terrain. Still, she managed to send a text message to her husband. "I'm in some trouble. I got off the trail to go to the bathroom, and now I'm lost. Can you call AMC to see if a trail maintainer can help me? I'm somewhere north of Woods Road." It was a desperate plea for help, but the message never went through. Unaware of his wife's distress, George waited for her at their agreed-upon meeting spot on July 23rd. But she never arrived. When she still didn't show up the next day, he knew something was wrong. On July 24th, 2013, he reported her missing. A massive search was launched. Hundreds of rescuers scoured the area, helicopters flew overhead, and scent tracking dogs were brought in. Hikers, park rangers, and volunteers combed the trail and surrounding woods, hoping for any sign of Geraldine. But there was nothing. Days passed, then weeks. The search continued, but as time went on, hope faded. For 2 long years, her fate remained a mystery. Then, in October 2015, a forester conducting a survey in a remote area made a grim discovery. Nearly 2 miles from the Appalachian Trail, hidden in thick woods, he found a collapsed tent. Inside was a backpack, a journal, and skeletal remains. It was Geraldine Largay. The evidence told a heartbreaking story. After getting lost, Geraldine had tried to find her way back, but ended up deeper in the wilderness. Eventually, she set up camp, hoping rescuers would find her. She had food and supplies, but no way to alert anyone to her exact location. She kept a journal during her final days. In it, she recorded her struggle and her hope that someone would come for her. But no one did. The last entry was dated August 18, 2013, 26 days after she had gone missing. Geraldine had survived nearly a month, alone in the vast wilderness, before she passed away. The discovery was devastating for her family, but it finally gave them answers. She hadn't fallen victim to foul play. She hadn't suffered an accident. She had simply gotten lost, and despite all efforts, no one had been able to reach her in time. Her story is a tragic reminder of the dangers of the wilderness. Even experienced hikers can make a wrong turn, and in remote areas, a small mistake can have fatal consequences. Today, hikers on the Appalachian Trail sometimes leave small tokens at the spot where she was found. A quiet tribute to a woman who loved the journey but never made it home. The 2 young women, both in their early 20s, had recently graduated and wanted to explore the world before settling into their careers. They planned to immerse themselves in the culture, learn Spanish, and volunteer with local children. They arrived in Boquete, a picturesque mountain town known for its lush forests and stunning hiking trails. On April 1st, they decided to embark on a day hike along the El Pianista Trail, a well-traveled path leading into the dense Panamanian jungle. They packed light, some snacks, a bottle of water, their phones, and a camera. It was supposed to be a short and pleasant trek, but they never returned. When Chris and Liz failed to show up for a scheduled meeting with their host family the next day, concerns quickly grew. Calls to their phones went unanswered. Their worried parents, thousands of miles away in the Netherlands, contacted authorities. By April 3rd, a search was underway. Rescue teams scoured the area. Locals, police, and even the girls' families who had flown in from the Netherlands joined the search effort. Helicopters and tracking dogs were deployed. But there was no sign of Chris or Liz Ann. Days turned into weeks, and then silence. Then, 10 weeks later, a breakthrough. A local woman in a nearby village stumbled upon a blue backpack along the banks of the Culebra River. Inside were sunglasses, $83 in cash, 2 bras, a water bottle, and most chillingly, their phones and Lizanne's camera. Investigators analyzed the devices and uncovered a haunting timeline of their final days. Their phones had been used multiple times to call emergency services, starting just hours after they left for their hike. On April 1st, the first distress call was made to 112, the international emergency number, at 4:39 p.m. The attempt failed due to poor signal. Over the next 10 days, more than 77 emergency call attempts were logged from both phones, but none went through. By April 6th, Lizanne's phone battery had died, and Chris's phone was used sparingly. The last recorded attempt to unlock it was on April 11th, 10 days after they had disappeared. Then there were the photos. The camera contained over 100 images taken between April 1st and April 8th. The earlier pictures showed them smiling, enjoying their hike, taking selfies along the trail. But then a disturbing shift. On the night of April 8th, 90 photos were taken in total darkness. Some captured the jungle floor, scattered rocks, and tree branches. Others appeared to show a makeshift marker, possibly an attempt to signal for help. One image showed Chris's head, partially obscured by shadow. Shortly after, searchers made another grim discovery. Bone fragments and a boot with a human foot inside were found along the same river where the backpack had been located. DNA tests confirmed that the remains belonged to Chris and Lizanne. The official cause of death was ruled as an accident. Authorities suggested that the women had become lost, fallen from a height, or been swept away by the river. But many questions remain. Why did they continue taking pictures deep into the night? What happened after their final phone attempts? And how did their remains end up scattered miles apart? To this day, theories range from tragic misadventure to foul play. Some believe they got lost and succumbed to the elements, while others suggest they may have encountered someone dangerous. No definitive answers have ever been found. Now, hikers on the El Pianista Trail walk with caution, knowing that two young women entered the jungle one afternoon and never walked out. In May 2019, 35-year-old Amanda Eller set out for what was supposed to be a short, refreshing hike in the lush forests of Maui, Hawaii. She was a yoga instructor, a physical therapist, and an avid nature lover who often sought solace in the outdoors. The Makawao Forest Reserve, with its winding trails, towering trees, and vibrant greenery, was one of her favorite places to explore. It was just another ordinary day. The sun was shining, birds chirped in the distance, and the scent of damp earth filled the air. Amanda parked her white Toyota at the trailhead, locked her phone and wallet inside, and began her walk. She had no reason to believe that this routine hike would turn into a harrowing 17-day fight for survival. Amanda had been hiking for a while when she decided to step off the main path for a moment. Maybe it was to admire a view, maybe to explore a little. She wasn't sure. What she did know was that when she tried to get back on the trail, it was nowhere to be found. At first, she didn't panic. She was familiar with the area and figured she could retrace her steps. But the dense forest all looked the same. Every direction seemed like the right one, yet none of them led her back. The towering trees blocked out the sun, making it difficult to navigate. She was lost. She continued walking, convinced she would find the trail again soon. But as minutes turned to hours, she realized she had only wandered deeper into the wilderness. The thick underbrush made it nearly impossible to move freely. Vines tangled around her legs, sharp lava rocks cut into her bare feet, and the humidity made every step exhausting. When night fell, she had no choice but to stop. She laid on the forest floor, listening to the eerie sounds of the jungle, rustling leaves, distant animal calls, and the occasional creak of shifting branches. She had no food, no water, and no way to call for help. Back at home, Amanda's friends and family quickly grew worried when she didn't return. She had told no one exactly where she was going, but they knew she wouldn't just disappear. By that evening, her boyfriend, Benjamin, reported her missing. Police found her car still parked at the trailhead with her phone, wallet, and keys locked inside. The discovery sent chills through everyone. If Amanda was lost, she had no way to call for help. A massive search effort began. Helicopters flew overhead, teams of volunteers scoured the trails, and local residents joined the effort, determined to find her. But despite their best efforts, days passed with no sign of Amanda. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Amanda was doing everything she could to survive. She had no food, but she found wild berries to eat. She had no fresh water, but she drank from a muddy stream. Each day was a battle. The terrain was unforgiving. Sharp rocks shredded her feet, and thorny branches tore at her skin. At one point, she slipped and fell down a steep ravine, injuring her knee. The pain was intense, making movement even harder. But she refused to give up. She found a bamboo forest where she could take shelter. She relied on her training in yoga and meditation to stay calm, focusing on her breath when fear threatened to overwhelm her. At night, she curled up on the damp ground, hoping she would make it through another day. As the days dragged on, Amanda grew weaker. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, dehydration made her dizzy, and exhaustion took a toll. She was alone, lost in a vast wilderness, and the world seemed to have forgotten her. But she held on to hope. She kept moving despite her injuries. She left signs, arranging rocks, leaving behind pieces of her torn clothing, hoping someone would see them. She listened for the sound of helicopters, but they always seemed too far away. Days turned into weeks. Back home, the search effort had started to slow down. Some feared she wouldn't be found alive, but her family refused to give up. A reward was offered for any information leading to her discovery. A private helicopter search was funded. Volunteers kept looking. And then, on May 24, 2019, after 17 days in the wilderness, Amanda was found. A helicopter pilot scanning one last time over a deep ravine spotted something unusual. A woman, waving her arms desperately. It was Amanda. A rescue team was immediately dispatched. When they reached her, she was sunburned, covered in cuts and bruises, and had lost nearly 15 pounds. But she was alive. She was airlifted out of the jungle and rushed to the hospital. Tears streamed down her face as she reunited with her family, overwhelmed with emotion. She had survived 17 days alone, against all odds. Amanda's story became one of the most remarkable survival tales in recent history. She later described how she had remained mentally strong by focusing on gratitude, prayer, and meditation. Her rescue was a testament to perseverance. Not just her own, but also the determination of those who refused to stop looking for her. Today, hikers in the Makawao forest often remember Amanda's incredible survival, a reminder that even the most experienced adventurers can get lost. But as Amanda proved, with the will to survive, there is always hope.